Good morning, humanity. It's March 26, 2018, and this is Mondays with Bev and Paul again. And my name's Paul.
Man, my name's Bev.
Well,
Yeah, here I
I
am.
forgot. Yeah, we're going to have a great show today, and that's sort of what we're going to talk about. So, one of the questions, do I need to put my ego aside to practice biotouch? And we just had a great talk about that, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Right.
These shows are to teach about biotouch. They're also to share a little bit from our manual, our book, testimonials that we get from around the world.
Well, we're still waiting for the dialogue to begin. We've got to step that up with you. And, share, what's happening in this foundation.
Boy, and a lot is happening.
It really is.
Yep.
It's exciting.
So we had a workshop.
We had an amazing workshop. I was so pleased. So many people came to hear about the and learn how to address glaucoma and cataracts. And we had an amazing presenter, Les Geisel. Thank you, Les.
Yes,
it was wonderful. Yeah, but I knew it would be. He's an amazing guy.
Yeah, he did a good presentation. And coming from a recipient and someone who's had those conditions, he does some research and shared some nice points with us.
He did, and Les took the class years ago, right. So he's been on both sides of it.
Yeah. So a little later, we'll tell you about the upcoming workshop, which is going to be totally awesome.
I think. I'm pretty sure.
We have a great presenter for that one.
Right.
And so let's go into our little dialogue about the question of the day. Do I need to put my ego aside to practice biotouch? So wanted to share how this even came up. So I'm doing my usual morning checking out Facebook, and there's this post by Anita Morjani, and it's basically saying, your anger and your fear and all those so-called negative emotions and ego emotions. And she said, you have to go into them. You have to accept them. You have to love them in order for them to leave. And I thought, And then I go to the very next post, and it's from Rontas, and he's talking about how do we accept your humanity. And your humanity is, you might do all these things to get rid of your sexuality and your sex drive and your anger, and I'm going to put that on the side, and I'm going to do all this, burn it up, burn it all away, and blew the breath of fire. And he said, and then boom, the minute you get into a situation, here it comes again. So just be with it, be
just
here
breathe.
Now with it. Yes. So I thought, wow, that's just a perfect thing to talk about in relation to biotouch, because people ask us all the time, do I have to put my ego away? Or a lot of healing techniques is put the ego aside and center yourself and be an prepare yourself, right?
And the space, whatever that means, right?
So we thought that would be perfect to talk about today. And, so we're going to talk a little bit about the ego, and we're just going to let Bev talk.
Oh no, I will say something.
She's got a good ego.
Very developed. I don't know. Wow. Well, it's an interesting question. I mean, that's a very powerful question, because the ego is for all of us. And I find it interesting that you read two different posts from two different ways of looking at something that was saying the same thing, using different words. But, what, as the saying goes, the truth is the truth. You can take many roads to it. But what, I think why biotouch is so timely now is because this word ego, whatever that means, is really, it's being spoken more and more and more. And, maybe you don't have to know what it means in terms of all those spiritual trainings and everything, but it's about learning to accept ourselves now. We're human. We're still experiencing life with our minds, our emotions, our bodies. And instead of fighting against it, which is what happens when somebody says, you have to clear yourself, you have to prepare yourself. Well, then that just takes on a whole nother task, right? So what biotouch helps us to do is just when Anita says just love yourself, it's like accepting everything about yourself. You take yourself into a BioTouch session and with another person who has an ego and emotions and a body, and you have an opportunity to step into one-on-one in the presence of yourself and another person in a relationship of just letting it be. That is when the healing takes place.
And that's a powerful healing. And it's sort of when it happens that way, it's innate, it's yours. No one can take it away from you.
Yeah.
It always reminds me when the guru used to slap you on the forehead and you became enlightened.
Right.
Well, it was still somebody doing it for you, and BioTouch to me was always great because you had to move into that relationship in order for it to happen. I mean, it took an act. You have to, it doesn't just happen because I sit there and I think I want to be healthy and happy. If I just live in that awareness and then I reach out and I ask someone, there's a key. I mean, if there's anything to give up the ego, it's when I have to ask for help.
Oh, you're talking about humility. You're talking about humbling yourself enough to ask something for yourself.
And just, that's an act of loving yourself.
Yes.
And in a sense, at that point, whatever we call this ego, this thing that drives us to our selfishness and drives us to our anger and drives us to our greed, you're not fighting against it any longer.
Right.
You're just saying, okay, it's over here, but I'm asking somebody to just love me for a moment, to just touch me for a moment, to help me in my healing. And all the other droning going on back here, it sort of gets quieter and quieter and quieter.
Because we're both. We're greed and you've said that many times. We're all of those things, but we're also angels. And we are worthy of asking to have someone touch us in love and to be loved and to start that whole journey of, it comes down to what we're always saying. BioTouch helps us to begin the journey of self-awareness of all those things, that we're human. Yes, I have anger, I have desire, I have jealousy, what all those little personality ego things based. But I'm also I'm also an angel. And so we're all of that. Everything that we are and everything that we're not is worthy of BioTouch and that loving process that just helps us to accept all of that.
It's interesting. It just flashed on me. I was flashing on all the youth movements this past weekend.
Yes, right.
And how it took something really negative or bad or triggering a deep emotion of fear and anger in people to come out, because the message was really the deep message. I listened to the whole thing. It was like I was there, and these kids were talking about, here's these 11-year-olds, 16-year-olds, 18-year-olds. The message really that I got was we have to love one another. And we're using this thing that maybe was a negative or an ego reaction. And I think about why people come to BioTouch, because my ego, my body, this thing I'm identified with is hurting.
Yeah.
And we can say, oh, it's just of the mind and, just pray to the guru or, but no, I'm in this body and it hurts. And whether I'm identified with it or not is irrelevant. But that's the experience. And that, in the same way that these kids were speaking out, that pain in my body requires me to step out of it and let myself be loved. So it's these negative things. It's these things that maybe it is my ego identifying with it that push me to a higher thought.
Yeah, it's a catalyst because, we live in a world that is black and white, good and bad, whatever that
Bev
duality. Bev and Paul, that duality, male and female. And the truth is, when BioTouch really equals all of that. It brings you into the midst of that point of equilibrium and equality. That's when magic happens. And we can only get that from each other. So when you are asking another person to touch you lightly, whatever the issue is, that's maybe not really the issue. The issue is that you are now willing to love yourself and step out there and, be vulnerable. But what happens in this world of duality? The catalyst, how do we know what love is or joy is if we haven't experienced the other part of that, which is what fear and aggression and all of that. So this is just an amazing, magical time for all of us. And BioTouch, wow, that is the button.
It's the button. And we had we've been getting a lot of people from around the world wanting to find out about BioTouch. So we've been asking them, well, how'd you hear about it? We got this one thing from Christophe.
Yeah.
I don't know how you say it.
Christophe.
Christophe.
In France.
Right, in France. And so we asked him how he heard about it. So we're going to read part of how he answered this. It was quite
wonderful. So he says, how I found out about you is rather torturous, but here is a short version. I have for several years been interested in healing or getting better modalities. Miracles are nice, but a bit hard to come by, I find. Nothing to do with my job, just this lingering interest. I lived in the UK for several decades and looked at EFT, including its latest incarnation, the Unseen Therapist, Quantum Touch, BSSF, etc. But I am generally put off by all the pseudoscience that surrounds many of those techniques. When I hear quantum scientists tell us that, I tend to switch off, even when I have experienced something tangible. I am also repulsed by the exorbitant charges for taking classes, one after the other, level after level. So I was doing a search on the role of touch in medicine just to prove a point, and I clicked on your link, expecting something quite different. But since I was there, I read on, and I was struck by three things. The first was Paul in an interview on being asked why BioTouch worked, and he said he did not know. I like that a lot. I am sure you have lots of potential explanations, but it was such a refreshing answer. I stayed on the site and read further. The second was the price of classes and other products. It's really reasonable, and you went up another notch on my short list of to experience, as you are plainly not out to exploit anyone. Finally, having read a bit more, I really like the fact that light touch is involved. No heavy manipulation, but gentle, restrained, and hopefully loving touch. And that's something that in my experience always benefits people in the right setting and with the appropriate respect, regardless of what else it can accomplish. So,
thank you, Christophe.
Yeah.
Yes,
that's
that was
wonderful.
Inspiring to all of us. In fact, we sent it to Julie, and I just love it.
Well, and he just, when you get it, you get it, and he gets it. I mean, it's touching something within him that we're looking for something simple. And we always say, reaching out and touching another person lightly on the skin is about as simple as you can get, because the only requirement to do that is an agreement between two people that we both require and want love,
So we encourage you to send people to our website. It was nice to see that the message is in there. It is a little chaotic. We're working on cleaning that up.
Oh, big time.
Changing our branding a little bit, but the message is there.
Yeah.
That our goal is to get BioTouch to you, to your friends, to your family. So people just are doing it. They don't need us. They don't need a practitioner. Everybody's affected the very first time you do it. So that's the purpose of these shows. And if you get people to send this on to people, we send emails of this show to people. They're on our YouTube site. They're on our Facebook. They're on the website, justtouch.com. So, pass the word around, because I think the message is easy. The message is simple.
Yes, and we're going to keep striving to make it even more simpler. But, I just want to add, for your benefit, this is already something that is waiting for you. It's so part of you. It's just innate in all of us to be able to have this in our daily lives. This is not something that you go, oh, it's Saturday, I'll carve out some time and maybe reach out and touch someone. This is on a daily basis, so accessible all the time. It's a revolution.
So we're going to teach you because that's what we like to do. It's worthless to just have a yakety yak and not
Right.
teach you something. So we're going to teach you today. We thought it would just be perfect to teach the greeting, the one thing you do all the time. And if that's all you could do, a healing process is started. So here we go.
The greeting is always performed at the beginning of each session. It's the only set that uses one hand and the only set that indicates which hand to use. The greeting is performed with the dominant hand. If you are right-handed, use your right hand. If you are left-handed, use your left hand. The greeting is made by touching at point 1, which is in the fleshy area just below the bottom of the breastbone or sternum. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. Then, with the same 2 fingers, touch point 2 on the back. To find point 2, look for the big bone at the base of the neck. From here, move 1 to 1.5 inches to the left. This is point 2. Hold this point for 6 to 8 seconds. More than one associate may work with a recipient provided that all of the associates perform the greeting. If the associate or the recipient leaves the session, or if someone who hasn't done the greeting touches either the recipient or the associate, the greeting must be reestablished. Then the session may proceed from where it was interrupted.
There you go. Teaching the children equality.
If that's not a family unit right there,
Yep.
man.
So that's, I don't care what happens in the world. If we can get BioTouch out there, that's the revolution of love, the revolution of touch for healing.
Yeah.
We're there, and we're pushing to get this out there to people, and this is our life work, and we're grateful to share it with you.
Oh my goodness. Wow. Because we always say BioTouch is a gift for you. We are so grateful and honored to be the gift bearers. And, from there, humanity.
So open the box.
Yeah.
And do some touching. We have a workshop coming up. This month's workshop's on ADHD.
April's workshop already?
Yes.
Wow,
And
I know. I'm excited about this one.
Awesome presenter, Kimberly Lauber. She's an RN, and I'm just going to read her little synopsis. Kimberly specializes in children with complex medical, behavioral, and educational challenges. She's the owner of Red Tail Neurodevelopmental Center in Tucson here, a place of hope, learning, and connection where she provides what she calls handle evaluations, programs, trainings, and healing touch sessions. So we are grateful she stepped up to want to tell us about this condition and how it relates to all of us, and then we'll teach the points on how to address it.
Exactly, because we know BioTouch is integrative and powerful with anything on its own or with anything else.
So that will be Thursday, the 26th of April, and it's at 6 p.m. here in Tucson, but it's great because we live stream it. So you can even see the last one is on our live stream, and that's also on our YouTube site. And if you can't be here in person, plug in with us live. It's really fun when it's live. I mean, when I see some of these things that are live, I really feel like the Dalai Lama's live in India. And I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm there. So, if you can come in live, that'd be great. If not, it'll be posted. Anything else we have?
Gee, I think that's about doing that 20-minute show.
Yeah.
We're getting really good.
So Dave's going to be here this week.
Yeah.
And BioTouch Around the World. If you don't have the book yet, Healing with the Power in Our Fingertips by Deborah Schildhaus, get one. Send it to your friends and family. It is a great, simple read that inspires people to want to do BioTouch, to do any kind of healing.
Absolutely. It's a human story, isn't it?
A human story.
Yeah.
So, this is Ego Paul.
Oh, and Ego Bev. I'll admit it.
We are grateful that you joined us for today, and we'll see you all next week.
Have a glorious week.
From all around to the sun, they come here